If Joe Flacco is worth a 4th round pick, Antonio Brown might be worth a negative 5th round pick.
Again, I'm just a fat dude sitting on the couch, but I watch a lot of football.
I'm here to kick ass and make steaks, and I'm all out of steaks.
Year 1, he was like, all right, guys, I don't know what Dom taught you, but you need to have 11 guys on the field.
A trained orangutan could have done a better job than Ron Zerks. I mean, not even like well trained.
Welcome, Packers fans. It is episode 231 of the Titletown Sound podcast. I am your host, Chris Christofko, and this is the podcast for fans of the Green Bay Packers and fans of ravioli. Gentlemen, I mean, look at us. We are fans of ravioli. It is National Ravioli Day. Now, my co-host, a man who's also been called a cheese-filled pillow, James Corsmo.
I am often surrounded by meaty gravy as well.
Yeah, okay. And my other co-host, a man who once ate so much cold Chef Boyardee ravioli that he Oh, that was me. I'm sorry. No, this is my brother, Kevin Christopka. How you doing?
Chef Boyardee is a delicious and nutritious treat. It's one of the best ways to get your riboflavin.
It's also a good thing to have on tap when you've got kids who are home for the foreseeable future, and you don't really, you don't want to parent all the time. Like you don't want to work to actually parent.
I just accepted the fate that I'm a teacher now.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're everything. You're stuck in your house, and I know a lot of people who are listening now are going through the same thing. And hang in there. We'll eventually get through this. But let's talk about. There is a lot of news going on this week. We actually have Packers news and league-wide news with the with free agency opening up, and things got interesting this week. So. Let's cover the news first, and then we'll talk about some other things around the league.
Spanning the globe to bring you all of the news that's fit to podcast with Kevin Christopka.
All right, Kevin, you ready for news story number 1?
Sure, why not? Hit the road, Fack, and don't you come back no more. And other players depart Green Bay.
We had some veterans who did leave the team this week. I guess the one that we were all hoping would not happen was Brian Bulaga, but Bulaga is gone. I was certainly disappointed, James, to see that they didn't put in a little more effort to get him back. I guess the price tag was just too much.
I had heard rumblings that he was going to get $12 million a year, which at that point is, yes, that's too much. He ended up signing for 10 a year. Which is a little bit surprising that they didn't at least match that. But I will say the Packers have a really good track record of letting their offensive linemen go at the perfect time. Going all the way back to Ted Thompson, like all the way back to Brett Favre with Mike Wall and Chad Clifton, like those guys. For some reason, the Packers do a really good job of kind of meeting that expectation of always a year early, not a year late.
So you think this might have been the right move then, just based on your experience with their judgment?
I don't know, man. I with those other guys like Josh Sitton, was really the last one. TJ Lang, you could kind of see the writing on the wall. That the end was near for them.
Right.
I didn't see that with Bulaga. Like he had his best year of his whole career last year, really. So it's a little surprising to me, but I'm just going to chalk it up to bad timing. Maybe, it's 2 years too early instead of 1 year, you know what I mean? Like 2 years early instead of 1. So
the much of the linebacking core left as well, although they were terrible to begin with. But if I'm not wrong, Blake Martinez and Kyler Fackrell both signed with the Giants. So the Giants saw something special, Kevin, in the Packers inside linebacker crew and decided that they could move their team from poor to somewhat mediocre in that area. Surprised at either of those departing, Martinez or Fackrell?
Surprised that they're departing, no. And I think the Giants can improve from poor to somewhat less poor with those guys. No, it's not really surprising, I guess. Martinez, I know you guys had some words about him and aren't too mad that he's no longer on the team. But you look at the tackle numbers, and that speaks for something. Watch the next guy that comes in is going to have like 600 blown tackles. And it's going to be like 8 yards per carry or something off of him. And you guys are going to be, no, if that's the case, that's bad. But no, I mean, I hope they do. I hope they do well enough, especially when it helps the Packers. I liked when they contributed in Green Bay. It's, just sometimes it doesn't work out, and hopefully the Packers can get better.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the ultimate goal. But and nothing that Gutekunst has shown us tells us that if they're not going to get better. I do have faith in him to improve that position. But now they got to do a lot of improvement through the draft. They've got to hit on a couple of draft picks. Any thoughts to Martinez and Fackrell, James? Nothing shocking there, huh?
No, I mean, we all kind of knew they were going to go. Fackrell, from what I had read this week, I think it was Silverstein wrote a column. Fackrell had wanted to leave. He was just he saw the writing on the wall with the Smith brothers. He wasn't going to get a much playing time, so he was just kind of done. And I get that, and I respect that. You want to play, so you can't hold Fackrell for that. I mean, you can't keep a good Fackrell down. You just can't. Like he's there's a lion in his pocket, and baby, it's ready to roar. Please don't sue us, Estate of Prince. But,
I don't understand where that came from. I mean, I know where it's Prince, but
I'm just saying, Fackrell, you can't. Fackrell is just he led the Packers in sacks 2 years ago, man. I'm just totally kidding. He's gonna still be Fackrell, but I wish them nothing but I hope luck. I thank them for what they did for the Packers. Blake Martinez, he was serviceable. He did his job for the most part. There were, he just wasn't. He wasn't what the Packers needed, and he did the best he could with us. And I thought I respect the hell out of his career here. Really good dude. I hope he has a great career in New York. But it was just time.
Spoiler, narrator, he did not have a great career in New York. No one has a great career in New York, at least not recently. All right, so anything else to add to those players departing? Let's talk about our second news story, if you're ready and if I can get to the sound effect.
Go for it. I'm not sure why they're called free agents. These guys are expensive.
You've been sitting on that one for like a year, haven't you? That's pretty good.
that was not bad.
That was pretty good.
The Packers signed, 2 free agents of note this week, James. What can you tell us about them?
Christian Kirksey comes to us from Cleveland.
And we talked extensively last week about him.
We did, where he was drafted by Mike Pettin. So, Mike Pettin was the coach when he was drafted there, I should say.
Right.
Coach Mike.
Yeah, Coach Mike. So there's some familiarity there, and that's good. I don't think he's going to blow the barn doors off anything, but he is better in coverage than Martinez was, so that's good.
I mean, the only lower bar you'll see is in a limbo game. So, limbo game match. Wait, is it a game of limbo? A match of limbo? What would you call it?
It's a duel. A limbo duel.
A limbo duel. All right, I'll allow it. James, keep going.
I'm really trying to think of something and I can't. And then they signed offensive lineman Brian Bulaga's replacement, ostensibly Rick Wagner. Wagner. I'm going to go with that. That shows you how much I know about him. He comes to us from Detroit, where he has spent his whole career. Wisconsin boy, grew up in West Allis, Wisconsin. Went to UW-Madison. He blocked for I think Melvin Gordon and Russ Wilson. I think maybe not Russ Wilson. I don't know, in that general area. He's okay. He's not great. He's certainly no Bulaga.
Mm-hmm.
But he's cheap, and hopefully they can find somebody in the draft that can kind of compete for a spot with him. And
to be fair,
it works out.
He's inexpensive. It's not like he has loose morals. Let's not, call them cheap.
Well, I mean, he did play in Detroit, so his morals are probably a little compromised.
It's a good point. That's a good point. And so is his immune system, because it's Detroit. I don't know. I'm trying to make fun of Detroit. That felt like it was
too soon for immune system jokes. Let's be honest.
Good point. Good point. All right. So what do you think about Kirk? I know we discussed him, but to me, it's like, okay.
I mean, honestly, it's about staying healthy. That's my question: is can he? What Blake Martinez lacked in skill, he brought in consistency, right? And so that's what that's a big part of it. That there's something to be said for consistency, especially when you're in the middle of a defense. So that's what I'm hoping, that he can play in 14, 16, 18, 22 games.
22 games. I think that means he was released to the XFL.
I'm sure in some CBA agreement down the road, there's 65 games.
By the way, if you noticed, the XFL did things right. So obviously, with everything that's going on, they had to end the season. They paid all of the players their full salaries for the year, which they probably did not have to do, and they have committed to a full season next year. I hope they come back, because I liked what they were doing, even if Vince McMahon was behind it.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed it very much. So I hope it comes back too.
All right,
just don't have any draw to the regional team. Like the teams don't like.
Yeah, that's a problem.
It's like rooting for a Madden created team. It's just tough to do. Like if you can get into it, great. I have a hard time with that.
No, I get it. Absolutely.
I'm ready for number 3 whenever you are.
Okay. All right. Well, let me find. All right.
Pass catchers resigning. How will the offense answer in the draft?
Wait, what? I need it without the newsboy.
Oh, that's re-signing. Oh, not resigning. Oh, that's awkward. Yeah, pass catchers re-signing. How will that offense answer in the draft? Yeah, that makes sense.
It's hard to work that hyphen in. Just verbally.
My hyphen button is broken on my phone.
Oh,
so that's
your touch
underscores or nothing. Yeah.
All right. So Mercedes Lewis resigns. We both, I think James mentioned, we wanted to see that happen. That we thought he had a little something extra, and he's cheap. He's an inexpensive tight end.
No, he's cheap.
So we wanted to bring him back because there's not a whole lot of tight end for the Packers, and he's consistent. He's not expensive. I think this is a great re-signing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He can block too, which is good. And that helps out, because if you're not going to bring back Bulaga, you're going to need somebody who can consistently help block on the right side. So yeah, that's a great signing. Plus, he's just a really good locker room guy. Rodgers and the wide receivers all love him. He's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. He was inexpensive. I think it was $1 million against the salary cap. That's nothing. So.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's you'd be dumb not to sign him. Alan Lazard re-signed. Kevin, I don't think anybody needs to. If you've watched this or listened to this podcast before, you know how we feel about Mr. Lazard and how he feels about us.
This is Alan Lazard, aka the Lizard King, and you're listening to Titletown Sound Podcast. Go Pack, go!
I think it's worthy to note that the cost of an Alan Lazard cameo has gone up significantly since we purchased ours.
I believe we paid $30, and I don't think you can get it for cheaper than $100 now. Now, there's a man who's not cheap. He is. He knows his value. But honestly, very happy to see him come back, because I think he was developing well, and I think he has potential to develop into something. I don't know if he's going to be special, but he's very good. I mean, he's fun to watch.
Just as a nice compliment to what they have. I mean, he doesn't have to be the guy. He just has to complement what they have.
He can fill that. I don't know, that Randall Cobb type. I'm not saying he's going to be a slot receiver, but he can fill that third guy type role, and.
Yeah, as a third receiver, I think he's amazing. I mean, I love to have him as the third. We just didn't have a consistent number 2 last year. That was the problem. Now, our number 2 last year was number.
I haven't
2.
had a consistent number 2 in a while, so
You need to eat less cheese.
okay, thanks.
That's not going to happen.
Cut back on the Gruyere a little bit. You'll be fine.
I don't know if I would know a Gruyere if I crossed its path.
Oh, I met a Gruyere in high school. He was an exchange student, but we didn't keep in touch.
All right. Who's left? Oh, Kumaro resigns. Again, a guy who started to show some flashes at the end of the year. You think Kumaro can be a real contributor on this offense, James?
If at this point, if they don't draft at least one guy who is a starting quality wide receiver, he's going to have to because they don't have anybody else. And I again, he's another guy that the locker room loves. Rodgers loves him, and we all know how much that means. And he's a white guy from Wisconsin, or he went to college in Wisconsin, so he's always going to have 78,000 people at Lambeau Field, cheering him on. So
what looks like a gorgeous semi mullet as well. So that's
well. Whitewater College, University of Wisconsin Whitewater, where he went to school, is renowned for its party in the back, business in the front lifestyle.
They're the fighting mullets, right? From what I understand.
Yeah, they're the fighting mullets, but only when they're drunk. Because when they're sober, they're real nice. Like they're real respectful. But you get a couple drinks in them. Whew.
And anything else to say about
They also like to dip. I understand.
Do a lot of dip, a little chaw.
Yeah.
Minnesota's not the only place with skull. That's how that goes.
Oh, that was terrible. I think you owe our listener an apology.
Sorry, listener.
All right, so this one is not an official news story, but something I thought we should discuss on this show, and that is that there's a new free agent on the market. One, Clay Matthews has been released, and the question that's been asked already is, should the Packers re-sign Clay Matthews and move him inside? James, you look like look like just happened to you, because that would not be within the family meaning of this podcast. But it looks like you just reached. I was going to say that.
I had a revelation. I had a epiphany, if you will. Remember in the skits that we used to do with Clay Matthews, what he was always selling? Do you remember?
Tide.
No, the skit.
He was also selling some sort of mangled version of Chef Boyardee beefaroni or something.
Yes, what is today?
Today's National Ravioli Day. He was released on National Ravioli Day.
It's meant to be. He's coming home. You write it. It's written in the stars.
Written in the stars. I'm gonna go on the record and say that yes, the Packers should absolutely sign him and bring him inside of a booth and charge people $3 to take a picture with him on game days.
So they just use him as a prop, like a photo booth prop?
Yeah, essentially.
It's like Dorsey Levens. That's what they do with him.
So that'd be kind of cool, though.
So there is a serious question being asked of, like, should the Packers bring him back? Will they bring him back? I do not believe they have any interest in bringing him back whatsoever, even though there's a dearth of talent at middle linebacker. James, you seem to agree with me.
Yeah, no, I do. I don't know what it is about when Packers leave after spending the bulk of their prime of their careers here. The second they're available again, it's, oh my God, he needs to come back. Clay Matthews will be in the Packers Hall of Fame. There's no doubt.
Yes, of course. And he'll sign a one-day contract and retire as a Packer.
Yes, I mean his contributions to the franchise are amazing.
Head and shoulders above the rest.
That was fantastic. But he's not.
I just accidentally pulled that little lever on the chair that makes your chair super low. Oh, there we are. Much better.
Unless he signs for the veteran minimum and comes back and plays inside linebacker No, he's not coming
Well,
back.
And here's why I don't think he's coming back. Kevin, this is probably something you've studied as well, because I know how well you know the intricacies of football. The year he left, they gave his number to a rookie. That tells me they don't want him back. They made that decision.
Right. Yeah. If they wanted him back, he would still be here. Right. Like there's no, like very rarely are you like, he'll be better. Like he was great. He'll be better in 2 years. Let's let him go.
Right.
Like, that doesn't happen.
Gap year, because, every linebacker needs a gap year to go find.
To go backpacking in the XFL.
Clay Matthews. That's exactly.
He's going to live in hostels.
Yeah, you know what it is, James? It's everybody wants that nostalgia. Everybody knows the guy, and they think, and it's funny because it's the same people that 12 months ago, 13 months ago, were saying, "Oh God, get rid of Clay Matthews at all costs. This guy's terrible. We can't be on the roster. He's awful." And now they want him back.
That's what's crazy. I was looking at Twitter today after he was released, and the same people who I remember very vividly commenting on my articles or our articles on the website, the one we used to write articles on the website, about how much Clay Matthews is washed and he's over and he's awful, are like, bring him home, make him an inside linebacker. He's going to be great. And you let Blake Martinez go, who's half Clay Matthews' age, and the math might not check out. Hamblin, work on that for me. But he's gone. Maybe he'll retire. I don't know what he's going to do, but not here.
Kevin, what do you think? Clay Matthews, should he come back to the Packers?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think, look, everybody remembers the 1 year that he had a pretty good year with the Packers at inside linebacker, portions of the year. He's older. If he's too washed up to play outside, he's probably too washed up to play inside. And remember what we were comparing Clay Matthews to. It was the terrible talent the Packers had at middle linebacker, inside linebacker.
Oh,
hopefully they've got to improve. If they don't improve, this team's in a lot of trouble. But if Clay Matthews was a great stopgap when you had no talent on the roster, you now hopefully will have some talent. They don't really have it yet, but
Clay Matthews looked like an Hall of Fame inside linebacker when he was when he came in for Brad Jones.
Oh God, Brad Jones.
So let's just put that into perspective. Would he be? I don't know. He had a great year last year. He had 8 sacks last year, but he also played on a defense with Aaron freaking Donald, who was getting like quadruple teamed. So, it's just not. Not for us.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad that we agree on that. All right. Before we go to break, let's talk about our OG patrons. These are the patrons who really keep the show going, and we appreciate them very much. Kevin, tell us about them.
Right. So, as you guys know, every week I try to find a fact that relates to the show theme about our patrons in some way. So, since today is National Ravioli Day, I figured I'd have some pasta-inspired facts about our patrons. First, Jason Hicks. Around his house, Jason is a well-respected provider. In fact, his wife calls him the manicotti of the house.
Nice. Yeah.
That's true. Scott Neer, translated from Italian, Scott Neer's name literally means ravioli gigante. I don't know if you guys knew that.
What's amazing is gigante. That I didn't know. That is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. That's what it said when I Googled it. Chris Corsmo. Chris makes panzotti from scratch. And not only are they delicious, but the shape makes leftovers perfect for tabletop football.
No one likes a store-bought panzotti.
Can I? You might want to explain what a panzotti is, because
it's a triangle-shaped stuffed ravioli type pasta type thing, as is my understanding. Is that wrong? You're looking at me like that's either wrong or you're frozen.
He froze. That's why.
Okay. All right, good. So then I was right. All right, good. Your awfully judgy eyes and you're frozen, James.
Wow, James, you froze in the most judgy moment possible. Like, Kevin got really nervous. It was as if you were interrogating him because he kept breaking down and apologizing.
I'm gonna have to listen to the podcast to hear him do that.
Oh no, don't put yourself through that. All right. Our next patron, Jeff Augustine. Jeff has a very large head. He wears a size 7 7/8 Cappelletti.
Oh God.
Yeah, that was a bad one. There's not that many. Oh, these are all stuffed pastas, by the way, guys. There's not that many stuffed pastas.
You're authentic. Yeah. You limited yourself to stuff.
I did. Authentico. Yeah. All right. So Milo Meadsong and Hunter Schur, their progressive comedy act, Tortellini and Tortelloni, is currently on hiatus, but as soon as possible, they'll be touring again. You can buy tickets for their show online at twonudepastadudes.org.
Don't you mean as soon as possible?
Ooh, good one. Yeah, I did mean that. Yeah. And finally, James Hamblin is also sometimes called cannelloni because of his long, smooth pasta tube. A cannelloni is a long, smooth pasta tube filled with cheese.
Wow.
I just almost snarfed on the table. That was all right. So I guess it's time to go to break. Thanks to our patrons. But if you want to support us, I ask you, if you haven't been a patron and you've never left a review, do so on Apple Podcasts right now because we're falling down in I don't know how their algorithm works. We've got 250 some 5-star reviews. Just give us some more. It helps. I think part of the problem is we haven't had a new review in a while. If you do that, we'll read it on the show. No matter what you say, we will read it. I mean, pretty much. Yeah. No, if you give us 5 stars, we will read it. I don't care if it's a character assassination of me.
It could be a resignation letter to your employer,
or propose in your review. Propose to your wonderful partner in your iTunes review. That will go over really well. That's you can buy a smaller ring if you do that because it's so impressive.
It could be a confession. I know that a lot of churches are not allowing that these days, so you could use that as a confession.
That's a good point. All right. We're going to come back from the commercial. We've got so much league news to talk about. We've got a new CBA. We've got KGB, Kabir Gabajamila, being insane. Big Dick Nick is going to the Bears. Tom Brady is going to Tampa. All that and so much more. Join us on the other side, won't you?
Did you know that you can help support our show financially without any additional cost to you? Well, if you use Amazon, and let's face it, who doesn't? You can go through our Amazon affiliate link, and we'll get a small portion of the proceeds. You pay nothing extra, and you still get your awesome stuff delivered in like 2 days. So go to www.titletownsoundoff.com/Amazon. You just order like you normally would, and you help the show. That's www.titletownsoundoff.com/Amazon. Happy shopping.
If you would like to support the show and help others find it, give us a review and a rating. Go to Apple Podcasts and write something nice and give us 5 stars. Thanks.
Welcome back. It is episode 231 of the Titletown Sound Podcast. Thank you, Kevin, for rejoining us. It is time to talk about some league news now, but before we get to that news, before we get there, James, I did not forget. Let's talk about our other Hall of Fame patrons. They're so important to us, all of them, with 1 or 2 exceptions.
All right, so we have Paul Goldsack, Kyle Turpinning, DJ Lightfoot, and Will Z Sauvage. Now, you might not know this. They just recently, in order to commemorate National Pasta Day, which I think was like a month ago, they
Right.
made what's called a human lasagna.
Um,
They're now banned in 16 states.
that yeah,
Not it wasn't cannibalism.
That's
No, I
not
know.
what I was thinking. No, there was.
Yeah.
I just okay. Well, we should
Lot-
probably move on.
yeah.
A lot of laying on top of each other with cheese.
A lot of layers.
A lot of layers. So there is a new collective bargaining agreement that has been ratified. So we have told you that this is the one thing that could cause football to have a work stoppage, and I expected there to be one.
It's the second thing now apparently that could cause a work stoppage in football.
Well, but I was surprised to say, I was surprised to see that the players were able to ratify this so early, because this wasn't. I don't think this was expected by many people. It did kind of barely pass. It wasn't clearly ratified. I have the numbers somewhere, but I wanted to go over some of the newest changes in this CBA. And if I can scroll down the page, because, okay. So it passed 1,019 to 959. So not exactly overwhelming approval. The first thing, and probably the flashiest thing people have talked about, is the 17-game schedule. Right? So this doesn't start until 2021, but the teams will play a 17th game. And that means more money for... In the end, it means more money for everybody, but the owners have wanted this for quite a long time. They want to expand to 18 games, and we've talked about this. What do you guys think about having that 17th game? Are you excited about that? Is that a good thing?
It's I mean, look, as a fan, of course you want to watch a 17th game, but as somebody like I have a hard time justifying having another week without adding another buy-in. Even though they did take away a preseason game, it just seems the amount of wear and tear these guys put on their bodies. It's gonna shorten careers, I think, and I don't know. It'll be fun for us to watch and talk about, but I just don't know how if it's gonna affect the quality.
Right. And you did mention they're going to go to 3 preseason games instead of 4. Now, that's, I think, a change that everybody can get behind, that you're never going to have that 4th. Go ahead, Kev.
So how does that work? Because normally you get 2 home games and 2 away games. If you're only playing 3 preseason games, how's that going to work?
Good question. I don't know how that'll work.
1.5. You stop at halftime and move stadiums.
You want to play like Kansas City, because otherwise you're looking at like multi days of travel. You play San Francisco at night, it gets rough. But I'm not sure how that'll work. It's a good question, but it will at some point. They figured it out. I'm sure it's in the CBA. Shortening the preseason, James, I'm certainly a fan of.
Oh yeah, the preseason's horrible. Like, it's just awful. Watching, just praying that nobody in the starting, gets hurt. And then after the starters leave, then it's like you're watching a bunch of dudes who are not going to make the team. It's like watching a junior, like a junior college game. It's not entertaining at all.
You know what the worst about the preseason is when like the starters play their 4 plays and everything's great and they all go off the field, and then at the end of the game they announce that the star running back broke his toe and is going to miss 8 weeks or something. Don't you love that? Like, if you're gonna miss weeks, at least like writhe around in pain so I know that and I'm not shocked by it when it's announced.
Right.
Little selfish quirk I have there.
But no, that's a good point. Like, when that happens, when they're like, oh yeah, by the way, someone tore the tendon off their bone and you will never see them again.
Right. They have died and ascended to heaven.
Right. It didn't look like much when it happened, but it was huge. I hate that. I agree. What else in the CBA? So the marijuana testing has changed. They will no longer suspend for marijuana. Or what?
Man, it's ridiculous. They won't suspend you, but they'll let you play, but they won't pay you. Right? Is that how that works?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's
Some win-win for the player. That's kind of ridiculous, but
the only good thing is I guess there are times that it is useful to have playing time. You know what I mean? Like I can understand it, but at the same time, it's ridiculous, right? You're going to play for free at this point now,
right? It's clearly just it's a bonus for the owners, right? Like, I mean, like that. It's just like you still get him to play for you, but you also don't have to pay him for that. But it's silly to me, but.
It is. I agree. But they're also changing the way they do testing. Like apparently the testing window for drugs of abuse as opposed to like performance enhancing drugs, that testing window is only like 2 weeks long in this new CBA, as opposed to like all season long last year. So I think there are some benefits. James.
All I know is that Josh Gordon is going to end up having to pay the NFL to play.
Well,
I mean, if that he'll play because he wants a job, but dude can't stop smoking weed. So
the window. Bye, Chris. See you later. So the window is 2 weeks that they can. What?
I believe there's 2 weeks, and they know when it's coming. Like they know when it is.
So that doesn't do anything because it takes certain drugs certain amount of time to go through your system. Right. And if you have a 2 week heads up, there are certain pretty hard drugs you can do and have clean through your system. By the time you do that test, I don't know. It just seems so arbitrary to me that the way that they do this.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's archaic the way that they treat, quote unquote drugs of abuse. Like, I think marijuana is legal in half the country now. Like it's just silly. Eventually, it's going to be legal everywhere. And then what are they going to do? I mean, to me, it's just yes. If it's like he tested positive for heroin, or moose tranquilizer. Okay, then fine. Give him a week, but. I don't know. It's just it's frustrating to see that the NFL, even though they're trying to get ahead, is still lagging behind in a lot of areas.
Agreed.
So
okay, I think we have to. I don't know. I'm gonna close and join again.
All right, I'm gonna do this by myself for a minute and see what happens. Hey, so it's just me now. I'm glad that our technology is working as well as it is. While I'm by myself on this podcast, I'd just like to take the opportunity to say that I'm clearly the most handsome. Hey, Kev, you're back. Good to see you.
Chris is still not. So that's
and we've lost Chris, possibly permanently. Where is Smoochie? Smoochie's gone. That's a Simpsons reference. I don't know what's happening right now. This is not good radio.
Or podcasting or whatever we're doing right now.
Yeah, this is bad. Let's talk about
what's next on the list. Do you have the list?
I do have the list. I made the list.
I am the list.
I am the list. We kind of need Chris for the next one because.
Oh boy. Okay.
So let's talk about Tom Brady going to Tampa. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
How messed up is that? Like how Tom Brady, whether you like the guy or not, 20 years in New England, won 1,002 Super Bowls, and he's going to finish his career most likely in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
It's incredible to me.
Yeah, it seems like less fanfare than when LeBron James left Cleveland, but like similarly shocking almost. It just, what could he possibly do in Tampa Bay?
why would he want to go there? Like, what is in Tampa Bay? He has some good wide receivers, but like,
There's a lot of good strip clubs in Tampa Bay.
is there? I've never been there. I don't know.
I mean, Tampa Bay is a pretty seedy town.
Have you actually been to Tampa Bay? By the way, I'm back, guys.
I've literally driven through Tampa Bay, and it's like on one side it's like Beverly Hills, and then the other side of the highway it's like New Delhi slums. Like it is like there's like Hoovervilles on the side of the highway. It's bizarre. I mean, maybe that was just my high school recollection, but
So did you guys skip from?
We skipped
Okay.
the next two because we needed you for those.
I apologize, guys. I don't know what happened. I don't know which audio I'm going to use, yours or the one I'm recording, where I told the listeners that Kevin wasn't my real brother, that we bought him at a flea market. I was just trying to fill some time because I thought you guys had left the show. Apparently, I had by accident.
we actually did some pretty good work too. It's
Nice.
crazy. Yeah.
Tom Brady, I don't get this. I figured he would either retire or come back to the Patriots. It doesn't. I mean, either he has a lot of confidence in his play, or he's a fool and just wants more money, or a little bit of both. I'm not sure.
And that's the thing is that I think we can all be in agreement that the chances of him actually doing anything worthwhile are pretty low. Like he's not great anymore. And
Well, he never was that great guy, right? Like he was great at running an offense, but he never was like, I mean, like he had flashes, but he was never consistently like that great football thrower, the runner. You know, like he was never that great guy. He was just very good at winning games.
Well, he's also being very good at being coached by Bill Belichick.
yes.
Yeah.
Extremely good at that.
But that's what I mean at winning games. Like if you follow your coach's game plan, you have a good coach and you win games. That's a certain skill. I mean,
The best coach ever. I mean, I never was sold on Tom Brady as this, I certainly never thought he was the GOAT. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is either, but I don't think Tom Brady is. The number of rings on his hand doesn't mean that he's better than a lot of other quarterbacks. He's completely immobile. He's got a decent arm, but nothing that I would say is like earth shattering. He doesn't make things happen. He just doesn't make many mistakes. And statistically, it bears out. He doesn't make many mistakes, but I just don't think he's going to be able to spark some winning tradition in Tampa at age 49 or whatever the hell he is. It doesn't make sense to me. In a comfortable life in Boston, that's where I would have stayed. I don't get it. But you guys may have said all this already.
No. It just when I was a kid, growing up in Oregon, my favorite football player was Joe Montana. And I remember when he went to the Chiefs, and that was like a total mind, you know what?
Right.
And I'm like, it just didn't looking at him in a Chiefs uniform made zero sense. And when Emmitt Smith went to Arizona, looking at him in a Cardinals uniform was ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's some legacies that you just, in my opinion, deserve to be left alone. And for me, I think it's hilarious because I hate the Patriots, and I think it's great that he ditched them because I don't like him either. But it makes no sense to me why you'd want to finish out your legacy in Tampa.
Like if you were going somewhere, like I could see him going to like Indianapolis. Maybe they have more pieces in place. I feel like they might be able to actually make a run. But Tampa to me is like, what are you doing? I can't imagine money's that important to this guy.
I don't know.
I think it's also a lot about ego too, right? Because I mean, obviously he wasn't wanted in New England.
But you know what? I always thought Tom Brady was the kind of guy who knew that he wasn't the man, but just didn't give a rat's ass. Like I always thought he knew, like, yeah, I'm not the most talented, but who cares? And that he was a smart guy, and that he wouldn't, go to like Tampa where he could be exposed. Because Kevin, he could be exposed as relatively mediocre compared to what people think he is.
Yeah. How long did he sign for? How many years?
I don't even know. 2?
Is it more than one?
It's probably a 2-year deal. I can't imagine him signing a 1-year deal.
No, but like, I mean, I don't know. Who knows how long he plans on playing after this?
This is complete speculation, but I would guess it's a 2-year deal, which is really a 1-year deal, like they all are.
Right.
Where the team can get away with it, get away from it if they need to. But I'll bet you Tampa expects him to play a couple of years there.
I mean, for Tampa, it makes sense. If you obviously, Mr. Crablegs isn't the man anymore. So if you draft another quarterback this year or next year and have him underneath Brady, I mean, Brady might not be the best, but like physically, but mentally, he's definitely up there. So
Yeah.
that would be helpful for developing a quarterback. I just, it'll
Unless
be
he
interesting
takes
to see if he can actually produce.
Unless he takes that Brett Favre attitude of, well, you're not paying me to train,
Which I could totally see. I could totally see that.
But even in that situation, though, the person still learns. Well, if they choose to learn, they're still going to learn some things. It's not like they don't have to teach in order to learn.
Right. All right. Let's talk about something else around the league, and that is, well, let's come back to Green Bay for a minute. Talk about a former Packer who we've talked about before.
Oh, Jesus.
Kabir Gabaja-Biamila, the only signed jersey I own. And we've talked about him on the bonus show. We did a whole bonus show of his YouTube channel. He's a crazy nut job. James, agree or disagree?
Oh my, that's too tame. Like it's that times 10 million. He's like Gary Busey on crazy steroids.
Crazier steroids.
So the story of what happened with Mr. Gabaja-Biamila recently in a Wisconsin court.
So I think it was 2 days ago. He had a hearing where he needed to sign a document related to his divorce. Believe it or not, a lady doesn't want to be married to him. I don't know.
I don't understand it. What a catch.
I don't get it. Yeah, I mean, so he had previously agreed to sign this document. It's, from what I understand, a relatively routine divorce thing. It just happens. Right. So he shows up to court and has changed his mind. He does not want to sign this agreement anymore. And the judge says, well, because you signed a document saying you were going to come sign this other document, you have now wasted our time. That is contempt of court. And right. you will now be arrested and taken to jail. And
he sends him to 6 months for contempt.
6 months. So at that point, for whatever reason, and I don't know why they did this, but 10 court bailiffs surrounded his table and literally tried
because Dom Capers was in charge of coordinating the starting lineup.
That's why there weren't 11.
Right.
There would have been 11, but Capers is the court commissioner.
So I'm in court quite frequently, not as a defendant, thank God, but I'm in court quite frequently. To round up 10 bailiffs in your average courthouse would take you a solid hour and a half. It's not like you assign teams of bailiffs to everyone. They knew this guy was wackadoo, I think.
Oh yeah, they were prepared for him.
I'm picturing like 8 bulls from Night Court. And
2 roses?
Yeah, 2 roses.
That is Green Bay. So these 10 bailiffs go to his table, do not arrest him. They give him an opportunity. They literally try to talk him into signing this document so he doesn't go to jail. They sit there for an hour and they literally try to sweet talk him into doing this. And if you've ever dealt with somebody of KGB's mental acuity before, that is the last thing you want to do, because that just is like that. It just completely solidifies what they're rebelling against.
So he argued that he was not a citizen,
right?
Which is the classic sovereign citizen argument. So first of all, you have to understand sovereign citizens are all insane. And they all believe that our legal system has some secret tricks. And if you know those secret tricks, you can literally get billions of dollars. I'm not making this up. They believe that they are a corporation, that's only the corporation is susceptible to the laws of the United States, but they as a natural person are not subject to those. And also they believe that they can travel anywhere they would like without a license plate or registering or getting a driver's license. They frequently, you'll see, if you ever see a license plate that's cardboard and it says traveler, that's a sovereign citizen. It's insanity. If you're ever bored and hey, we're all locked indoors until, June, check out sovereign citizen YouTube videos and try not to accidentally turn into one, but these people are insane and it's fantastic. Anyway,
Yeah,
I think this
I
is
did-
probably a bad. This is like a good time to turn into something weird. So let's maybe table those vids until later.
Yeah, I deal with them every once in a while at my job, and it's a trip. But anyway, so he starts spouting off his sovereign citizen nonsense, specifically related to this wackadoo church that he belongs to. And I don't usually like to judge other religions or churches, but it's wackadoo. So
No, literally,
eventually,
it's the wackadoo branch of the Mennonites.
right.
founded by Ben Wackadoo.
So eventually the bailiff's like, okay, we've talked to you long enough. It's time to carry out the judge's orders and take you to jail.
Time for a tasing. We did enough talking. Now it's time for tasing.
Kabir decides I'm not going to cooperate with you, starts to be uncooperative verbally, and then, from what I understand, not like trying to be violent, but just being
Swim moves.
physically uncooperative. So at that point, he rode the lightning for a while, and he was taken into custody, and he was charged with resisting arrest, and I forget one other charge. And then, if I understand correctly, he ended up signing the document anyway, and so they dropped that charge.
Oh, so they
dropped the contempt charge.
He got tased, threatened to be thrown in the clink for 6 months, and then finally signed the document. So he could have cut out all of this and just signed the damn document.
He could have, but he's KGB, man. He goes big or he goes home.
No, he doesn't. He never. Apparently, that's the problem. He just doesn't go home. That's the problem. All right. The next story from around the league, which is possibly the most amusing, because there's several storylines: football and penile. It's Big Dick Nick. That's Nick Foles, famously the largest member of the Philadelphia Eagles locker room. Nick Foles is now a member of the Chicago Bears. That means Mitch, the muffler salesman Trubisky, has camp competition. Kevin, this is glorious.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, guys, if Nick Foles is the quarterback, he's tough to sack. His automatic tripod leg, it really prevents the defender from.
It provides that. But then the question is that down? If that touches are you down?
No, just the tip is not.
Well,
down.
I mean, it does have a knee, so if that touches first,
just the tip
is the knee of the penile the same as the knee of the leg. We got to go to Hockey League for this.
That's amazing. Anyway, so that means that Mitchell Trubisky is going to have actual competition in training camp. James, this is a huge indictment of this front office.
Ryan Pace is the Packers MVP. I love that man. I hope he never leaves Chicago.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the other story, the other Chicago acquisition, that Chicago signed Jimmy Graham. How
they did? They're giving him $9 million for the next 2 years. It's insane. Austin Hooper's getting 10. Jimmy Graham is getting 9, and Jimmy Graham can't even move. It's incredible. Incredible.
So the Washington has done everything it can to make itself look like a bunch of asses in the offseason. But or did I say Washington? Chicago.
You did.
Well, Washington has as well. But Chicago. And do you think Mitch Trubisky – here's why I think this is terrible. Like, either get a new quarterback or don't. If you're going to give a guy like Mitch Trubisky competition in camp, and you already know that your fan base has turned against him because they have, you're going to pick up Nick Foles to compete with him. If Nick Foles isn't the starter week 1, every errant pass, and lo, there are many, is going to be, people are going to start calling for Nick Foles. Everyone. So, James, I feel like this is a terrible move all around.
They went out and they got a quarterback who's better than their starter to compete with their starter, who is still going to be their starter. It's insane to me.
Are you convinced that he's definitely the opening game starter?
I mean, I'm not convinced. I'm not 100% convinced. It would look even worse if they started Nick Foles game 1. I mean, they with what they gave up in the draft to get Trubisky, if 3 years later, I think it is now, they end up getting Nick Foles, and that would be just fire pace right then and there. But don't, because I want him to stick around.
Well, right, yeah, because he's our MVP. So between those two transactions, they get a quarterback who is, like you said, better than their starter. You still think Trubisky probably gets the start week 1. You're probably right. But then how do you handle this preseason? Are both of them going to play a lot? I guess so. James, go ahead, Ken.
I was going to say, I mean, the thing about Nick Foles is you need somebody on the sideline to hold his penis in between plays.
Like a caddy?
I think I'm going to use the wood.
Play it as it lies.
But like so here's what Bears fans are pissed off about. Bears fans, I'm not making this up, are pissed off that they got Nick Foles and not Cam Newton. That's why they're upset. James, who would you rather the Bears have picked up? Nick Foles or Cam Newton as a Packers fan?
As a Packers fan, honestly, probably Cam Newton, to be honest.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
Cam Newton, but the Bears couldn't offer him what Auburn could.
Right, that's my point. Like the Bears front office made a better move than what the fans are calling for, and I mean by far, because Cam Newton is at the very end of his career. Nick Foles could still have 4 or 5 good years in him, but he's such a weird, quirky quarterback. But maybe you're just looking for schlong leadership in the shower, and in that case, this man is your leader.
Well, they're going to be competitive for a long time.
They could go from losers to wieners.
he's got a huge penis. It's massive.
Oh, nuts.
Okay. All right. You know what? I think it's probably time to call it a week. I hope that look, we've been stuck inside. It's only been like 5 days now. It's only going to get worse. But I hope that you guys that you enjoyed the show tonight. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you hit that little notification button, it'll tell you when we go live. And so you'll get to catch all this. I mean, this hilarity. It's just amazing. Become a patron. Support us in the offseason. That's some of our toughest time. We know that you guys have other entertainment to choose from, but you don't have other sports to watch. So you might as well listen to this show and become a patron. Before we get out of here, Kevin, anything that you want to add?
Chris, in your state of Pennsylvania, I hear they've closed everything. What is that like?
Okay, so they have announced they have closed all non-life sustaining industries.
So liquor stores remain open. Got it.
Hold on. No, you don't understand. They literally said in the press release that means law offices close. I mean, they didn't we weren't the only ones. They said legal firms must close. Beer distributors may stay open. That's in the press release. So thank God.
Yeah.
But it's weird.
It's crazy. Like
it's like
in all seriousness, for the people who are listening who work in the service industry, Godspeed, man. This is crazy. Like I don't even know. You know, I used to be a bar back and a terrible bartender, and I couldn't imagine missing a week of work, let alone
I was
an undisclosed amount of time.
I was a casino dealer, and most of your casino dealers are making $5 an hour when they're not tipped. So even if they do get paid when the casinos are closed, because by the way, casinos are closed in Vegas, Atlantic City, Pennsylvania, almost everywhere. Not all in Florida, but that's another story. But think about that. So these dealers are either not getting paid at all, or if they are getting paid, they're getting like $5 an hour. It's rough. And I know, James, you are actually, of the three of us, the only essential personnel. And it's rough on you guys too.
This is uncharted territory for us. We're our county is under a state of emergency. The county exec and the governor for the whole state of Wisconsin. So we're essential employees. There's us and the sheriff's department are the only two departments that are required to come to work at this point. Wow. And we have contingency plans for when it starts floating around where I work, because it's going to. There's 50 of us and we work inside an enclosed building with recirculated air. At some point, we're going to get it. And it requires more commitment than I think, I signed up for 13 years ago, but now, it's a challenge, and we're going to rise up and we're going to do it. And hopefully we're going to get this thing over with at some point. Cause I really feel bad for the service industry. I do. There's a couple of local restaurants and bars I go to fairly regularly. And just looking at their Facebook stories and their Facebook statuses, and it's just heartbreaking for them. So no matter what, how much we're going through, or I'm going through, or the people in my industry are going through, at least we're getting paid. And we're, so support your local businesses through all this. That's just, if you can do that, if you can afford to do that, I'm preaching now, but please do it.
No, it's rough. I agree. It is so unprecedented. And, look out on the streets and you see nobody out there. It feels like a post-apocalyptic movie. So hang in there, everybody. If you're looking for something else to listen to, we actually just published the pilot of a new podcast, but only to the patrons of this show, because we want you guys to check it out. It is just a comedy-based podcast called, it's less pornographic than the title. It's called
Unfortunately.
Two Truths and Four Guys. And we want you guys to check it out. So become a patron, throw us a buck, listen to that new episode and give us some of your feedback. And if you don't want to do that, our current patrons, we appreciate you guys letting us know what you think. James, do you have a word that someone should tweet at us?
I think in honor of the Bears' new acquisition, I think that they should tweet us girth.
We'll leave it at that. Tweet us girth. We'll be back next week with episode 232.
232. Palindromic.
But until then, get your pets spayed and neutered.
And your quarterback.
Also, if you're thinking about adopting or rescuing an animal, now's a good time to get a puppy, because you have lots of time at home.
It's actually not a bad idea.
Rick Foles already has one.
It's a stance.
The preceding podcast was a production of Productions Institute, LLC. Copyright 2019. All rights reserved. Don't steal our crap.